And I'm going to turn it over to Des Moines, let him introduce himself and dazzle you with all kinds of great information. So thank you all. You're welcome to turn cameras on if you'd like. Feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions, and we'll go from there. And if you didn't hear me a little bit ago, the chat feature is missing. So I'm trying to find it, but I don't think I'm able to enable it once we've started. So enjoy the show.
All right. Well, again, I want to thank you all for taking the time to spend some time with me. Again, my name is Des Moines Adams. It is 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. For those of you that are on Eastern Standard Time, wow, it's almost your bedtime. But not going to take the full hour. My hope was for this to be a conversation, but definitely interaction. Don't want to talk to you, but I want to talk with you. And right now, we're living in a time where it seems like we're trying to figure out this new norm, but I am still a firm believer that normal can still include being positive. And so there is power in positivity. And we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So a little bit about me. I'm originally from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. So I apologize in advance if my accent comes out. Born and raised, but went to college at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, where I got 2 degrees, working on my 3rd. Played a little bit of football while I was at Nebraska. After Nebraska, I played a year and a half up in Edmonton, Alberta with the Edmonton Eskimos, and then 1 year with the Green Bay Packers, 1 year with the Tennessee Titans, and 1 year with the San Francisco 49ers, which none of those teams are playing in the Super Bowl, unfortunately. And my favorite player, Tom Brady, just retired. So my heart is broken, but he gives a lot of older people like me hope to play at 45. Well, he's 44, but live in Lincoln, Nebraska. And actually last spring, I became an honorary member of Delta Sig. So purple is my favorite color, but most importantly, I am a big fan of everything that this fraternity stands for, professional fraternity. So with that, you can call me Demo. That's what my friends call me, what my teammates used to call me. So when we're done, if you follow me on social media, feel free to give a shout out, not to Des Moines, but to Demo. So one of my favorite quotes in life, and I like to live by this, and I think as students, it's important to understand that once you see where you're going, then everything you do must correspond with where you're going. So if you think about what this fraternity stands for, it's about setting you up, being ready and set for your career, which means that it includes being career ready, knowing how to be a problem solver, how to be a critical thinker, how to manage your time, manage your anger, manage your emotions. And so the way that we go about preparing ourselves for that future is through opportunities like tonight, these webinars, conferences, your weekly meetings with your other brothers. And so understand that if you want to be successful, that everything you do must correspond with that. You want to make good grades, you got to study. If you want to be professional, you need to practice being professional. And so I am where I am today because I understand that it's one thing to set goals, but to be able to set goals and have a game plan to get to those goals, that is what this fraternity is trying to do when it comes to getting you ready and set for the future. So I wanted to at least put that out there because it's easy for us to be stuck back in 2020. If we think about how far we've come, well, first and foremost, congratulations, we're here. You know, for a lot of people, they didn't think that we would make it this far. Now, a lot of people have been impacted. 2020 up until now, for some people, we want to erase it, but let's think about some of the good that has happened. You know, Netflix blew up just in terms of all of the series, the shows from You, which is one of my favorite, Ozark, another favorite of mine, Disney Plus. I'm a big Marvel fan, so to have access to all of the superhero movies, HBO Max, They combined the two. I get to save a lot of money now that it's just one, Amazon Prime. So we watched a lot of TV, especially if you were in school and school told you you had to go back home. And so we spent a lot of time watching movies, but then also we still stay connected via Zoom, Teams, Google, FaceTime, and so many other ways that kept us connected. Maybe it wasn't face to face in person, but we could still see each other's face. The music from The Weeknd, Blinding Lights to Jason Derulo, TikTok, lots of videos. We found the way to make the best out of that time. And so 2020 up until now, there were some not so good things, some things that maybe we're still being impacted to this day. I believe that from 2020 up until now, we become followers because we spend so much time on social media. We spend so much time following the news and being influenced by what we see, what we read, what we hear, which has influenced us, some of us, to feel anxious, to feel angry, to be depressed, to be down, and to be discouraged, to be somewhat uncertain about life and if things are going to get better. But most importantly, society has really caused us to be disconnected and divided. As I mentioned, COVID-19 is real. As I mentioned, there have been some events where social and racial injustice somewhat made us divided as people. It caused us to really somewhat, put labels on people, the stereotypes, but then the political division. These are all things that have not helped us, but more have hurt us. And it kind of reminds me of the game of football. So I played defensive end when I was at Nebraska. And my job was to sack the quarterback. Now, I don't know how it feels to get hit because I'm the one that did all of the hitting. But what I do know is that anytime I would hit that person with the football, I would make them feel it. I wanted to make sure that when it came down to their goal of scoring, that it's going to be really, really tough if you come around my end and you see number 98. And so, of course, no matter how many times I would sack the quarterback, no matter how many times I would hit the player with the football, they would always get back up. Sometimes a little bit slow. Sometimes they'll pop right back up. But every time, no matter how many times I would hit them, tackle them, knock them down, they kept getting back up. And one of the reasons why, and the number one reason why, is because they are conditioned to take the hits. That's a part of the game of football. Getting hit is not a sign to quit. It's a sign to get back up because the goal never changes. You may have to change the strategy. You may have to be resilient. You may have to change your attitude, but it's a part of the game. But think about the game of life. And if football was just like life, we also have been hit with a lot of bad news over the last 2 years. We've been tackled with a lot of discouraging results and discouragement. We've been knocked down with things that are out of our control. And for a lot of us, it feels as if we don't have what it takes. It feels like we should quit. It may make us believe that this goal is not attainable. Why should I keep believing that things are going to get better? Why should I have hope? But just like the game of football, it's important that we continue to condition ourselves by understanding that life is just like football. We have to get back up to be resilient. Because when the going gets tough, I believe that's when we get tough. And that's one of the reasons why we're spending this time tonight. Because for some of you, you're still asking a question, how do we recover? Some of us, we still have not recovered because we have not made up our mind to be resilient. Some of us are still coping with our feelings of uncertainty. Some of us have been impacted, our families. Maybe we've had loved ones that we've lost during this time. How do we get our focus back? For some of you, you're back in school, but yet because of the 2 years and because you're wearing masks and it's really hard to get connected to the education that you're receiving, but how do we get engaged again? Some of you all are asking these questions. You've been asking them, and maybe you still haven't found the answer. Well, this is what I love about growth mindset, because it's really this attitude adjustment. It's really about us staying focused on what has happened or focusing on what happens now. I think that's the difference between a period and a comma. English was my favorite subject, by the way. And so when you think of a period, that's it. And if you look at the fixed mindset, that period is that limitation. That period is that fixed mindset. That period is, I'm not good. Things are not going to get better. My potential is predetermined. But it pretty much, that's that stopping point. Whereas a comma, there's more to come. There may be a pause, but it's just like saying I'm not good at math. That's the fixed mindset. But the growth mindset, I'm not good at math yet. That's the comma. And so it's really important that as we continue to build this hope, build this belief, build this sense of things will get better. Maybe things are not good right now, but things will be better. That's what happens now. But what happens now all depends on you, because every single day when you wake up and you look at yourself in the mirror, that's your opponent. Every day is you versus you. Either you're going to give your best effort or you're going to keep giving your best excuse. And I'm someone that's not about excuses, and I understand that everything that I just showed you is real, but what if we gave our best effort? What if we had a growth mindset? What if when we get hit, when we get tackled, when we get knocked down with certain things, what if we condition ourselves to get back up with our attitude? And that attitude that I want to spend time spending tonight on is positivity. Now, by definition, it's pretty much the practice of being, or the tendency to be positive or to be optimistic. Now, think about all of the signs that tell us to practice social distance. Think about that. We are encouraged to practice social distance. Have you ever thought about why we're told to practice social distance? Because it's not natural. It's something that we're not used to. It's something that we must adjust and we must adapt. It's kind of like with positivity. It is the practice of being positive. It's the practice of being optimistic. So my question to you is, when you read this quote, you get out what you get in, what you put in, or we get out what we put in. What does that mean to you in terms of what we practice? We all have habits. If you sow a thought, you reap a behavior. If you sow a behavior, you reap a habit. If you sow a habit, you reap a lifestyle. So there's a lot of sowing and reaping that we do every single day that influences our attitude, that influences our thoughts, our behaviors, our positivity. And so when I see this, it makes me think of the things that I see, the things that I read, and the things that I hear. Now, as a student, it's one thing to put into your head the economics or the biology or the history, but for a lot of us, let's be real, we are so connected to our devices. And this is new, by the way. I've just stepped my game up. This is the Pro. See the cameras in the back. It's cool, right? For us to stay connected. And over these last 2 years, it has allowed us to still communicate with one another. It's fun, it's entertainment. We get to see pictures of our family and friends, and we stay connected to the news. So being connected to this thing right here isn't a bad thing, because it has actually kept us in the game of life. And at the end of the day, this is reality. I mean, this is who we are. We are connected, and this is how we stay connected. This is how we check our emails. This is how we communicate. And so these are all somewhat innocent to keep up with what's trending. But the problem is when you stay connected, you're also being disconnected to people because you're also being impacted by the negativity that you're seeing and reading and hearing. You're also being impacted by those that are being pessimistic about the things that we're going through, the division, the rude comments, being disrespectful, being inappropriate. This has somewhat become our norm. To see people behave with these types of behaviors has become normal. And it's somewhat hard to decipher what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad, when all we see, read, and hear are the fun things, the funny things, but sometimes to make fun of other people, we have become followers to this new norm. Now, just because something is normal doesn't mean that it's right. And so that's one of the ways that I want to encourage all of you and remind you that don't make the mistake of modeling what you follow, whether it's people, whether it's certain podcasts, whether it's certain topics or certain channels. We unconsciously model what we follow. Now, as a Delta Sig, you have a lot of resources that are available for you to follow on the website, social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. So just think about the things that you're following. Why do you follow them? The people that you're following. Think about what impact they're having on your attitude. Because your attitude is your choice. And I believe that positivity is not something that we try to be, it's something that we choose to be. But in order to choose to be positive, we have to make sure that we're following behaviors that will encourage us to be positive. We're following people that are encouraging us to be positive. We're following resources that give us hope, resources that keep us conditioned regardless of the hits, regardless of the bad news, regardless of the things that are out of our control. There's still a way for us to still stay in this game of life and be positive, because being positive, that gives us the power to be resilient in spite of the knockdowns and getting tackled. I truly believe that we can still be a society that can be civil. But what if I challenged you and said that it starts with us? It starts with this fraternity. Regardless, we can still get along and treat others with love and respect, even if we disagree. And I say this to say, because this American way that we are accustomed to now is either this or that, left or right, black or white, police versus protesters, Democrats versus Republicans, wearing masks versus wearing no masks, vaccinated versus unvaccinated. And this American way has only caused us to be divided. And we cannot be divided as a fraternity, as leaders, as we exercise your leadership, because remember, leadership is the #1 characteristic that companies, careers are looking for. We have to be better equipped. We cannot allow this to be the norm for this fraternity. Just because it's normal doesn't mean that it's right. And I'm not a big believer of the American way, but I am a big believer of the Delta Sigma way. And so what if we created our new norm? What if we decided not to be distracted by what's happening in society, but we stay attracted and focused on what we stand for as a fraternity? And so, as I mentioned, positivity is not something that we try to be, it's something that we choose to be. It is a choice. We win or lose by how we choose. So if you want to continue to feel like you're winning in this game called life, you have a responsibility to put your eye and win. What does that mean? As I said earlier, either you're going to give your best effort or you're going to give your best excuse. Either you're going to choose to be positive today or you're going to choose to be negative. You're going to choose to be kind or you're going to choose to be rude. That I starts with you. It's you versus you. But as I said, we get out what we put in. We cannot expect How can we expect to be positive when we're putting in negativity? We're putting in news that doesn't give us hope. We're feeding our minds with things that only bring us down and make us feel angry and low, and it only causes division. So I truly believe that if we want to be leaders, we may need to do a huge detox when it comes to what we put into our minds and our hearts. Because right now, we cannot be leaders and be followers. Because I believe that leaders don't create followers, leaders create leaders. And Delta Sig is a fraternity that is all about building and developing leadership, which means that we have to be different. We cannot be just like others. We cannot follow the norm. We create the norm. And that norm starts with us having a positive attitude. It starts with us using our role to be that role model. That's how we win. And it starts with our choices. And we must continue to be influenced by what this fraternity stands for, by these webinars, by other brothers, older brothers, mentors, those that are using their role to be positive role models, not the music that we listen to, not CNN and Fox News and TikTok and Snapchat. Those things don't always encourage you to be your best. But this fraternity, they want you to be your best. But we must have the courage to make the choice not to be normal. Because what's normal is to be negative. What's normal is to be rude. What's normal is to see another brother and to find a reason to not like them or to allow labels to dislike them. But at the end of the day, remember, we're one team with one common goal, and that's for all of us to work together to be this team. I know there is no I in team, but there is an I in win. We all have a personal responsibility every single day to put our I in win by making that choice to be positive. And when we make that choice, when we all make that choice, then think of the impact that we have on others on our social media. If you were to like me or find me or become a follower of me on Twitter, all you're going to see are positive quotes, hope, things that bring about motivation, things that help others. You're going to see nothing but love. You're not going to see me following a lot of people, tagging myself on a lot of things, because I've made the decision to use my role to be a positive role model. So whoever is following me, they're going to be influenced to be positive. What do you influence others to be? What type of attitude do you influence others to have? If I was to go on your Snapchat, on your Twitter, on your Instagram, how would I feel? Would I feel happy? Would I feel sad? Would I be encouraged? Would I be motivated to go to school tomorrow? Would you inspire me to be better, to be inclusive? Or would you discourage me? Would you make me feel angry? Would you encourage me that this new norm is okay? And the comments, the memes, and to create these fake Instagram accounts just to put other people down. Think about it. We win or lose by how we choose. And I say we because we, as Delta Sig, we must stand for something. Otherwise, we're going to fall for all of the things that we are seeing and reading, hearing. Just because it's normal doesn't mean that it's right. Now, what's right about this picture is that I'm on a beach. My family, the kids are playing. I could not travel, could not do anything for a very, very long time. So we were excited to finally get down to Florida. This is on the Palm Beach area, and just have a good time. Now, the interesting thing is right now you're seeing blue skies and the sun, but that morning it was cloudy. And the weather forecast said that it was a 25% chance of rain. And so for my wife and I, we're preparing for the rain. And we're telling the kids that we're going to try to go to the beach, but there's a 25% chance that it's going to rain, and we're going to find something else to do if it does. My son, who is 10, he's still excited, got his shorts on, and he's just moving his little body and just excited to get to the beach. Now, his name is Lennox, and he gets really disappointed when things don't happen. When we say we're going to do something, we don't do it, he starts crying and becomes a baby. And so we're trying to tell him, like, buddy, there's a chance that it's going to rain, 25% chance. We're trying to not get his hope up to get disappointed. But he's still happy. He's still looking forward to the beach and all the things that he's going to do. And then I told him again, and then this is what this joker told me. He said, well, if there's a 25% chance of rain, doesn't it mean that there's a 75% chance of sunshine? You see, math is his favorite subject. And he put me in my place because when we got to the beach, this is what 75% looks like. Now, what if we would have focused on the 25%? What if we would have turned back and just went back to our little house that we were staying in? We would have missed out on that 75%. And I believe that we make that same mistake a lot of times. When we look at the weather, we prepare more for the rain, for the snow, for the hail, for the sleet. But in life, we also make the mistake of spending too much time focusing on the 25%, whether it's our own negatives, our own weaknesses, our own inabilities, the things that are going wrong in life right now, the things that are out of our control, the fears and the doubt. What if I told you that these things are real? COVID-19 is real. We still don't know whether we're going to have to get another booster, or we're going to have to wear masks, or if we can even travel outside of this country. We still don't know if things are getting better or worse. But I can tell you that even if things are getting better, we still have the choice to get better with our attitude. Because in spite of the 25%, what if we focus more on a 75% chance? Instead of focusing on the negatives, what if we made the choice to focus on the positives? Instead of focusing on our weaknesses, just think how powerful it would be if we focus on our strengths. Instead of focusing on our inabilities or our disabilities, we stay focused on our ability, what's going right, what we can control, the confidence and the courage. Everything we do is a choice. And choices either gives us chances, but sometimes they give us consequences. And the consequence can be that limitation. It could be that period. It could be where you're stuck right now, simply because you're lacking hope, you're lacking belief, and you're feeling down and you're feeling doubtful and you're anxious and it leads to feeling angry. But your attitude is your choice. Despite what's happening around you, if you let what is around you get inside you, it will get the best of you in a good way or a bad way. My challenge to all of you is that despite the 25% that we're surrounded around, there's still a 75% chance that things will get better. And you want to know why I believe in this? Because here we are in 2022. A lot has happened over the last 2 years, but if we're here today, hey, that's hope. That's the resiliency. That's when the going gets tough, we got tougher. But we got to keep being tougher. We got to stay conditioned, because what makes us strong instead of what makes us weak, that's the power of positivity. What can go right instead of what can go wrong, that's the power of positivity. What we can control instead of what we can't control, what brings us together instead of what makes us divided, that's the power of positivity. And that's the only way that we're going to get through this tough time. It's by being tough with our kindness, by being tough with our positivity, by being tough with our effort instead of our excuses. We got this, Delta Sig. We were created for this. Because leadership, now is the time that we cannot stop exercising our leadership because we're too busy being followers. Now is the time that we exercise our leadership with our influence by using our platform. Because leadership is like a muscle. And the more you exercise that muscle of leadership by how you carry yourself, by how you influence others, by the attitude that you choose, by the way that you use your role to be a role model, that muscle gets bigger, that leadership gets bigger, that leadership becomes more impactful. More people will begin to believe because you believe. More people will be hopeful because you are demonstrating hope. But if you don't exercise your leadership, then your leadership will not have that same impact. Leaders don't create followers. Leaders create leaders. And Delta Sig will continue to remind everyone that we are being built and developed to be leaders, not followers. But we cannot be like everybody else. You know, when you look at this, as I mentioned, I'm a big Marvel fan, and this is kind of where I began to wrap up this conversation. Think about all these individuals. Look at Hulk, for example, big green body. You know, as strong as he is, if you were to see a person with green, their skin color is green and his jeans are ripped, there'll be something wrong with that picture. But someone like Spider-Man, cool guy, can and just climb on top of stuff. But you know, one of his weaknesses, he's a teenager. He's small, he's goofy. Captain America. Now, I don't care how muscular he is, how good looking he is. Do you know that brother is over 100 years old? He's old. All of these individuals have weaknesses. All of these individuals have things that are wrong with them. And there are some things that they cannot do. But you want to know what makes them heroes? Is that they don't focus on their weaknesses. They don't focus on what they can do. They focus on what they can do. They focus on what they can do, what's right about them. But someone had to remind them of their strengths. Someone had to remind them of what makes them right. Someone had to remind them of their abilities instead of their inabilities. And that's what we're trying to do today with you. You can. You are able. And I understand that right now, we are lacking this thing called hope. And I've given you some definitions. It's that expectation. It's that thing that moves us forward. It's that attitude. It's that energy. It's that anticipation that something good is going to happen. Hope. Now, given that I went to the University of Nebraska, for those of you that kept up with football, or maybe you're keeping up with basketball, I can tell you in football, we did not have a good season. We only won 3 games. I must say, these were a lot of faces of fans in the stands this entire year. Now, keep in mind, they're Husker fans. Now, if you think of a fan, when they're cheering for their home team, there should be some cheering. There should be some smiles. There should be some clapping and, come on, you got this. Let's do this. But the one thing about fans is that fans cheer for their team on a conditional basis. When the team is up, when they're winning, when they're scoring touchdowns, when they're making plays, that's when fans are cheering. That's when they have a smile on their face. That's when they're up on their feet and they're giving each other a high five. But when their home team is losing, when they're making mistakes, when the other team is winning, this is how fans look. Because they cheer for their home team based on the conditions, based on how they feel. And as a former player, that's not the type of attitude that will encourage me to have a positive attitude. I repeat, seeing these faces is not the type of attitude that would encourage me to have a positive attitude. This will not encourage me to be resilient. This will not give me hope, especially seeing fans leave the game early. So as a former player, it was hard for me to be a fan. And I really didn't appreciate these faces, but there was another group of individuals that I appreciated. It was those cheerleaders, those individuals that were on the field with the players. Regardless of the score, they still had a smile on their face. Whether we were making plays or making mistakes, they were still saying, "Go Big Red." Whether we were up or down, whether we were on the top or whether we were on the bottom, whether we were winning or whether we were losing, those cheerleaders were conditioned to cheer for their home team on an unconditional basis. Unconditional. Selfish. They're not subject to conditions. And that kind of leadership, that kind of cheer leadership is what would give players hope that they can still come back, that will give players resiliency, that they can still stay in the game, that they still have what it takes to not quit, to not give in, give up, and give out, because that's a part of the game. Sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose, but that doesn't mean that you're a loser. Some days you're going to feel good, some days you're going to feel bad, but that's not a reason for you to stay down. Every day is you versus you. But think about who are the cheerleaders in your life that can keep you in the game, that can keep your heart positive, that can keep you motivated and encouraged, full of hope, believing that things will get better. As long as you don't quit, as long as you don't give up, as long as you don't remove yourself from other brothers on this fraternity. We are one team. And regardless of what society has tried to put in our heads about we need to feel this way about these people because these people look this way or believe this way or act this way or talk this way. No. We're the home team, and we have a lot of great Delta Sig resources, leaders, mentors, people like Mrs. Gray, that they are setting all of you up to be successful, to never quit. They will never give up on the home team. You are the home team. Never give up on anyone. How can you have each other's back? How can you demonstrate your cheerleadership? By being unconditional. When we're living in a time to where it's normal to be conditional, we must put that I in win because that's who we are as Delta Sig. I want to wrap this thing up by reminding you all that when it comes to our emotions, it's one thing to keep training ourselves with this IQ. But the EQ is the game changer, the emotional intelligence, the social and emotional learning. This is a great time for us to really train our emotions when it comes to our self-awareness, when it comes to making decisions that are responsible, that help us, not hurt us. Because remember, choices will either give you chances in life or they will give you consequences. And we have a lot of individuals that are making choices simply because things aren't perfect. Things aren't the way that they used to be. We're not getting our way. And so drug use is being increased. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be down. It's okay to give 50%. Relationships. You know, we spend so much time behind this screen. How much time do we spend finding ways to connect? Even if we have to social distance, even if there's a way for us still to see each other face to face. Remember, leadership is the #1 characteristic that the future is looking for. The interpersonal skills, the interpersonal communication, the career readiness that comes with leadership, social awareness, self-management. I want you to look this up for your homework, for your personal homework of what it means to continue to learn this social and emotional. how we can connect with one's emotion, putting ourselves in other people's shoes. You know, today is February the 8th. You know, February is considered Black History Month. Something that I don't like to get into, but it's a good time for us to see how far this country has come, how we have become inclusive. A great time for us to embrace all brothers in this fraternity, not some, but all. That is what it means to be a cheerleader as well, to be unconditional, regardless of one's skin color or their background or their experience. We're all going in the same direction, right? So once we see where we're going, everything we do must correspond with where we're going. And it starts with our attitude. It starts with our positivity. And so my closing brainstorming questions are this. What do heroes represent? What do they give? If you think of all of the Marvel movies and any movie, maybe you're not a Marvel fan, maybe you're a DC fan. Think about what heroes represent. One word comes to my mind, and that's the word hope. Heroes give others the expectation that things are going to get better, that something good is going to happen. Heroes help others to stay in the game, not to quit, not to give up, but to believe. And if that's what heroes stand for, what will you stand for? What will you represent when you go to campus tomorrow? When you jump on your Facebook or your Instagram or your Twitter or your TikTok or your Snapchat tonight, what will you represent? What will you post? What will you influence others to become, to feel? We all have a responsibility as a Delta Sig, and it starts with our leadership, not by being followers, but with our leadership. It starts with us putting that I in win. And I'm going to say this one last time as I wrap this thing up and as I stop sharing my screen. Leaders don't create followers. Leaders create leaders. We must break this norm of being followers. We must break this habit of being so connected to where we're disconnected to our brothers. We don't want to go to meetings. We don't want to be kind. We don't want to show love. We don't want to be inclusive because the normal is telling us that's not okay. But just because something is normal doesn't mean that it's right. And I believe that there is power in positivity. Why? Because we're here today. We're having conferences. We're making connections right now, connections that hopefully moving forward, you all would not feel shy to reach out to me on social media, to follow me, to like me, to email me, because I want to use my role to be a role model, to give you hope, to help you to believe that you can do it. You have what it takes. Regardless of the hits, the bad news, despite the things that are around us, remember, things may not seem like they're getting better, but we can get better by having a positive attitude. It's not something that we try to be, something that we choose to be. So that is my time, and we still have 15 minutes of a little Q&A. And so I know Mrs. Gray has a system. I don't know if she can unmute you. Would love to see some of you all's face if you're willing, but would love to hear your voice. Would love to just hear some of your thoughts, questions, comments, because I know for some of you, this is probably hitting home. And I say that to say, I lost my best friend in 2020 because he got COVID. And so when I say this thing is real, it is real. And I understand that there are real feelings, there are real emotions when it comes to what we're being impacted by. But I'm not giving up on hope. I'm not giving up on making a choice to be positive. And that's why I'm here today. And I know my best friend would want me to stay positive, to be resilient, to give others hope. And so let's talk. What questions, comments, thoughts do my brothers have? We got a hand that's been raised.
Yeah, Aislinn, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but are you able to unmute yourself?
Yeah, I am.
All right.
It's actually Ashleen. But thank you. Thank you again for just that presentation. It was really, really inspiring. But I wanted to ask, when it comes down to being persistent in your positivity, like getting through kind of like tough days or just tough longer periods of time in your life, do you have any habits that you try to like complete daily, or any tips and tricks that you use to just make sure you can stay persistent?
It's a great question. You know, well-being is a priority for me. Physical well-being in terms of working out, mental well-being when it comes to reading books and things that give me hope, give me joy, give me peace. Emotional well-being, making sure that I'm taking time to take care of me. Social well-being, making sure that I'm not surrounding myself around folks that are negative, folks that, you know, want to bring me down, folks that are always talking about things that, you know, would just bring the mood down. So I would say every single day, just like you brush your teeth, you wash your face, you wash your hair, we have to be able to create those same habits when it comes to how we take care of our thoughts, our mind, our body, by taking walks. You know, for those of you that have an Apple Watch, you know, taking those steps, getting out, smelling the fresh air, looking at people. If you're wearing a mask, you can still smile with your eyes. But, you know, really creating those habits of the well-being is what helps me, because every day it's you versus you. And every day it's a battle. But so far, I have to make that choice to give my best effort, not my best excuse, by some of the practices that I just named you. Those are things that I do, including the way that I eat, because I love to eat. But hey, some food will make you lazy. Some food will make you feel good and right in the moment, but then next thing you know, you're mad. But there are even certain foods that will put you in a good mood, certain foods that will give you a boost mentally. But those are just a few of my habits, but well-being is what leads to well-doing.
Awesome, thank you. I love the concept of approaching it holistically. Thanks.
Excellent. Chris from Wayne State.
Oh, Wayne State, Nebraska. Okay.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much. What's going on, Demo? Thank you for the presentation, man. It was amazing. And I wanted to piggyback off of Ashleen's question. And you mentioned the mental well-being and the physical fitness portion of it. That's always important. Our brain is one of the most important muscles that we have. And if we don't use it, we do lose it. But you can always continuously learn. So I wanted to know, what was maybe what's a book that you have read that contributed to your growth? That's one question. And another question with the physical fitness is maybe what is a food that does stimulate growth in the mind, or what are some activities that you promote that will help us along the way in that world? Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, so you know, of course, I love to work out, I love to lift, I love to run, but even just taking a walk, a mile, getting certain steps in. I mean, it's just something about putting your body in a motion that just gets the juices, and it just does something to just your whole being. This is one book right here. When I say well-being, it really helps you understand the whole you: mental, physical, emotional, social, spiritual. Well-being is what leads to well-doing. And in terms of foods, fruit, blueberries, kiwi, strawberries, spinach, you know, those also antioxidants. And so not only does it remove some of just the bacteria and just other stuff that brings you down, but it also fills you up. So it's one thing to detox, but you have to replace what you detox. You get the bad out and you put the good in. So I try to eat fruits every day, kiwi, blueberry. Not a big spinach fan, but I got a Ninja blender and I mix it all together, and then I don't even taste the spinach. I just taste the fruit. So, really take care of your body so your body can take care of you. Because we only get one body, we only get one mind, we only get one shot. And right now, we really got to make sure that we do everything we can. If we want to achieve, if you think of that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you cannot be at your best if you're not taking care of the basics, the basics of the food and the water, making sure that you stay hydrated, making sure that you are in a circle where you feel belong, where you feel loved, that sense of belonging. And then that's how you get to the top. So make sure you take care of yourself before you take care of your business, because you can't take care of your business if you're not taking care of yourself. Got another hand, Hudson Holmes.
Hey, yeah, thanks, Demo. I really liked what you had to say. My question, it's about coffee. And I actually, this is something I've been wanting to ask somebody for a long time. I'm a bank teller and a student, and so I try to get some exercise in, but I started drinking coffee. Like, I have maybe 1 cup a day, sometimes 2, but I'll be doing it every day. And this is me trying to get an outlet to just get some time to myself, even if it's at work. That coffee is just my time. And I'm just wondering, are you a coffee drinker? Is that, or when you were younger and you were trying to get everything done, was coffee something that you use as an outlet, or was there like a better outlet?
So, I'm more of a peer pressure coffee drinker. So, if I have a meeting and, someone drinks coffee, I'll drink coffee. But, the caffeine, it can give you that kick, but there are other outlets, other ways that you can still have that energy. One, making sure that you get plenty of sleep, at least 7 to 8 hours, 9 hours. Being able to shut this thing off. This should not be the last thing that you are looking at before you go to bed. Taking the time to energize your spirit with a good book or a good quote. Exercise. Making sure that you eat breakfast in the morning. I mean, we've heard for many, many years that that's like the most important meal of the day, and it is. And there are just so many other power foods, from almonds to oatmeal to, again, going back to the water, other outlets that can, still give you that boost. But, not to get too deep, but really taking that time, some people, whether they pray or they meditate or they just simply just be still and just clear your mind. Take a little nap if you need to. But there's so many positive outlets. I'm not knocking coffee. I like me a white chocolate mocha, from time to time. But, you get out what you put in. There are a lot of chemicals in it, the caffeine. If you're drinking coffee at night, then it's going to be hard for you to sleep. And then the ripple effect is you're not going to be your best the next day. So coffee is not a bad thing, but there are other outlets, such as working out, the foods you eat, water. Look up superfoods. But in that meditation, I mean, that's a game changer. To be able to be mindfulness. That's something else I want you to look up. Mindfulness. Learn about what that means in addition to the social and emotional learning. So I'm not knocking coffee. I like some coffee, but that should not be a habit to get through.
Yeah, I understand. That was great. Yeah, that was great. Thank you. Yeah, my coworkers, they convinced me to start drinking it like 2 years ago. And I didn't know what it was. And now I'm drinking it. And so I was wondering if you drank it. And I thank you. I will. I'll look that up. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem. And, even a protein shake, get your little protein shake, you got some minerals and 15, 20 grams of protein. That'll give you a good boost. Things that are natural, put things that, will be natural that belong in your body, like vitamin C, like zinc, and, all of these other things that doctors are telling us to keep our immune system up. Take a multivitamin every single day. I'm taking all types of vitamins, not because I'm old, but because I want to be able to bring my A game in every single way, from how I interact, how I carry myself. I don't want to look sleepy. I don't want bags under my eyes. So I want to bring my A game. But to do that, I got to put the best in me so I can get the best out of me.
Great. Great advice and great question, Hudson, and good luck with that, with the coffee and other. Well, we've got a couple minutes left. Any last